It's time for the 1430 Connection on 1430 WNAV and 99.9 FM, spotlighting news, newsmakers, and important community issues. Now, with this week's edition of the 1430 Connection, here is WNAV news anchor Donna Cole.
Welcome to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Leah Berry. She's the manager for the Prisoner Reentry Program at the Arundel Conflict Resolution Center. Leah, thank you very much for taking some time to speak with me today.
Of course, happy to be here.
So tell us what the Arundel Conflict Resolution Center is.
We are a nonprofit for all of Anne Arundel County, so we provide all of our services at no cost to any member of the community. We provide mediation as well as facilitation, some workshops, and anger management and conflict coaching. Our primary program that most people associate with us is our mediation program. We do a myriad of different types of mediations. Landlord-tenants are really popular, well, common right now is probably a better word, as well as like marital divorce cases, parenting plans. We do like family disputes, parent-teen, things of that nature. So we're really just a free service available to anybody that might be in any form of conflict or dispute, and they're looking to have autonomy and decision-making over their own conflicts versus having things go to court or having things escalate where police might be called or incarceration might happen. And as my title suggests, we do have a prisoner reentry program, but right now that program is shut down just because of COVID.
Right,
and
that makes
we
sense.
Yeah, unfortunately. We are offering all our services virtually right now, just through Zoom.
Are you saying the prisoners that are being released, can any of this happen remotely, or is some of this happening remotely?
So all of our other programs are happening remotely, 100% of them. We have not had a lull in providing mediation to our communities. Anyone can call at any point and get a mediation within 1 to 2 weeks from when they call in. But the prisoner reentry program, we work directly with the people that are incarcerated while they are still incarcerated, so that program is not able to be provided virtually because the prisons don't have access to the resources to make that happen.
Okay. And mediation, one of the things you'd said, lease agreements, rental agreements, and that's a popular topic right now because of coronavirus and people that are unemployed or underemployed, I would guess, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. So it doesn't have to be around a lease agreement. There can be other types of disputes with the landlord-tenant, but we are trying to encourage landlords to utilize mediation prior to eviction. And just the other day, we had a landlord-tenant case, actually yesterday, and everyone was able to come to an agreement. The landlord did not have to threaten eviction, even though that was their original thought, and the tenant was able to secure a payment plan that worked for them, and the landlord was able to get the money that they were looking for. So it did work out for everybody.
That's a big deal. And, you know, the other thing you mentioned, situations like divorce with mediation, and going to court could cost a ton of money, and the lawyers definitely benefit, but the partners in the marriage don't necessarily benefit from those payments to the lawyers. So does this alleviate the need for a lawyer?
Absolutely. We actually hope that people don't come to us with attorneys or lawyers, because a lot of times if people do want an attorney or a lawyer present, it's just confusing because we find that lawyers and attorneys might have a different way of approaching the situation, and that can be a little confusing. People are welcome to bring an attorney or a lawyer, but anyone can reach a marital divorce agreement in mediation without an attorney at all, and it could all get seen and accepted by the courts and by the judge. So it can be done completely at no cost.
That's kind of a big benefit, yeah. And all of the people that are doing this are volunteers. Is that the way I've read it?
So we are a volunteer-run organization. We do have 3 full-time employees, myself as one of them, and 2 full-time AmeriCorps members. And we do a lot of the mediating, but we rely heavily on our volunteers. Over the course of my 6-ish years of being here, you know, we've gained some and lost some volunteers, and we always have about 30 active volunteers that we rely heavily on. They do the mediating. They're on our board. They're on our committees. And so they get the same training as we do, though. They are professionally trained and absolutely capable of providing a flawless service.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back on the 1430 Connection. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. Today I'm speaking with Leah Berry. She's the manager for the Prisoner Reentry Program for the Anne Arundel Conflict Resolution Center. It's an Annapolis-based nonprofit. You can find them at aacrc.info. You said you've been with the organization for 6 years, Leah, yes?
Yeah, just a little under 6 years, yep.
Okay. And what brought you to it? How did you find it? Are you a county resident?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Maryland, been here for 27 years, third generation Annapolis resident. And when I was in college, I've just always had a passion for serving the incarcerated population, and I pretty much physically stumbled into the center asking about opportunities, and here I am.
When this starts back up, what does Prisoner Reentry Program offer to prisoners?
That's a great question. So we provide an opportunity for people who are incarcerated to have a safe, confidential, face-to-face conversation with anybody on the outside that they would want to talk to prior to coming home. So a huge issue with our incarceration system is that people who are locked up don't have the opportunity to have any private conversations. So phones are always recorded. In a visiting room, there are always officers nearby, and letters are read. So there's no way for them to have potentially painful conversations with their loved ones or people on the outside in a way that they can feel safe doing. So we offer mediation to people so that they can talk to anyone on the outside at the facility face-to-face to come up with plans to come home. And a lot of times in order to create secure plans for home, you have to resolve any pain or harm that's been done along the relationship. So we might be working with somebody that's been locked up for 30 years, and they want to be able to come home and live with their sister, but their sister has been dealing with answers that are left, questions that are left unanswered, or anything like that. And so they have the opportunity to have that family reunification, or to talk to their child's mother about a parenting plan, or to figure out housing, or to figure out a drug and alcohol sobriety program prior to coming home.
It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with in a day for you all. I mean, how do you but I guess the finding of the resolutions is rewarding, but it's a ton to be listening to, is it not?
Yeah, it is. We do get a lot of support, and just from our colleagues and from each other, and we all have learned to kind of have a little bit of a work-life balance, but we love our job.
And so if people want to volunteer for this, and keep in mind that we are in the midst of a pandemic, are you still doing training for the volunteers right now?
Yes, we encourage anyone that's interested in volunteering they can call our center at 410-266-9033 and actually ask for me, Leah. I'm managing all our volunteers right now. Or they can go onto our website and fill out a volunteer application through the portal. We would do a virtual interview with them to see where they would fit in, and then hopefully get them into a training. We were able to hold a couple trainings outside during COVID, but now that it's getting colder, I suspect we're going to have to put them on hold until the spring. But we are still trying to get people into the center and involved in some capacity.
Now, one of the services you also offer, conflict resolution education. So tell me what that is, and I'm interested in youth, kids, because there's a lot of conflict happening with kids. In school, you're seeing, bullying, you're seeing increased mental health issues. Is this something that could play a part in trying to alleviate some of that?
That's a great question. Yeah, so we do have programs that are involved in the schools. Right now it's difficult because of COVID. We sort of had to halt all those programs. However, we have other youth-based programs that are really successful. One of them is we actually do have a relationship with the Anne Arundel County Police for hate bias incidents that aren't considered criminal, but there is someone who's been harmed, and a lot of them are bullying between two youth, and so those do get referred over to us, and we do the mediation virtually with the youth. We had a case a couple weeks ago where one kid was bullying an ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend or something like that virtually, and so we were able to have a mediation with the two youth and along with their parents to come to a resolution. And then we do have a youth-based program with the Centro de Ayuda, the Center of Help in Annapolis, where we work with their youth twice a week virtually. And we do provide our conflict resolution education programs to any youth at any point. And then once COVID lifts, we are hopeful to get back into the schools so that we can provide peer-to-peer mediation, attendance mediation, and IEP mediations. We are doing IEPs virtually right now, but we haven't noticed as much use of them as when it would be in person.
You are there making sure that the accommodations, the right accommodations, are being given by the school to the student, yes?
Right, and we're not there to assess whether or not it's the right accommodation. We're there to make sure that whatever accommodations the parents are asking or the guardian's asking for, that the school's asking for, it's expressed clearly and everyone leaves feeling satisfied. But we as facilitators do not make assessments on what should happen.
Okay, fair enough. Let's take another short break. We'll be right back on the 1430 Connection. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. I'm talking today with Leah Berry from the Anne Arundel Conflict Resolution Center. It's an Annapolis-based nonprofit. You can find out all about them on aacrc.info. When you have two people that are at each other's throats, it can get pretty nasty, and especially right now they're not in the same room. Is that more difficult? Is it less? How's that all working?
Yeah, I see pros and cons to having people not in the same room. I believe that face-to-face interaction aids to better resolution. I think we can get each other's body language better. We can understand tone of voice and things like that. But I think a lot of people are benefiting from it being virtual. If you do have a couple that does have a very, not necessarily a romantic couple, but two people that do have a contentious relationship and there is a lot of fear or pain or disgust within the relationship, things being virtual makes it a little bit easier. And it's also more convenient because you don't have to leave your home. So you don't have to worry about driving, and it's convenient as far as childcare is concerned. We don't allow children to stay at our center during mediation. So pre-COVID, people always had to find childcare. But now, they can kind of prop their kid up in front of the TV during the mediation, and we do take a lot of breaks and stuff like that. So I see a lot of pros and cons to having it virtual or not virtual.
Do you think enough pros that this might continue beyond the pandemic, or is that too early to say?
I absolutely do think that. We used to never provide it virtually because we value face-to-face so much. And I think post-pandemic, we will certainly go back to in-person. But I think it'll be great for couples or for people that maybe aren't in the same state, or if you do have any fear of retaliation, or, if there is a limitation around childcare or stuff like that, I think it could really help.
When you think back on these almost 6 years that you've had, what were some of the best successes that you've had when you thought you would never get something resolved?
Two kind of responses. One is that success a lot of times in these sessions doesn't actually have anything to do with resolution itself. I always view it as a success if I get two people to talk to each other at the end of the day. But most of the cases that stick out for me are children that are incarcerated with their parents. So you might have a 40-year-old kid mediating with his or her parent. Those ones really stick out in my mind because seeing a lot of the harm and hurt, but the love that still comes out of those mediations is really meaningful to me. So you might have, just anything where you see the parents showing that unconditional love, I find are really cool. But to be honest, I've experienced so many fascinating and heartwarming mediations. And a lot of times, just even our small claims court cases, you have people come into the room and they're feeling so defeated that they're not going to be able to get their $1,600 back over the fence that they weren't satisfied with. But after an hour and a half, they get a resolution they want. So they all kind of stick out in my head as success stories.
And to go back to kids again, because we're all interested in kids. I saw something about a peace wheel. What is the peace wheel?
So that's a program we had started right before COVID. So it's a little bit of a shame that we don't have the experience with it that I think we were hoping to at this point. But essentially it allows, if there is conflict between children, to be able to have conversations with each other with the facilitators present at the school or at the daycare or wherever it is where they are. And it allows them to kind of go around in a circle and talk about why they're upset, who hurt them, what they would like to see happen, what would have to happen in order for them to be happy again, those types of questions. So it's a similar process, but it's structured differently because of the attention span of children.
And if parents don't feel like they're getting a good response from a school with their kid being bullied, whatever, that there's relationship issues there, can parents go directly to you and say, can you help me?
Absolutely. We actually encourage that. Anyone can request services through us at any time. We would absolutely reach out to the school. Obviously, it is all always voluntary, so we can't force a school to agree or to something like that, and we can't advocate for any specific person, but absolutely parents, guardians, or people that are in charge of children can always reach out to us.
On your website, we provide facilitators to help groups. Tell me what facilitation is.
Yeah, so that's a lot of things like community-based organizations like HOAs or workplaces like other nonprofits, or even just tennis court membership people, like anyone where there's like a group. We see it at churches a lot, who there might just be some type of conflict that's going on, whether it be with leadership or management or dues for the members. And any one member can request large group facilitation, and then we would be able to go in and facilitate any amount of people from 10 to 100. It doesn't really matter. And we run the process very similarly to a mediation. We just have some tricks of the trade to make it work better for such a large group of people.
So the person on the other side of this, you have a bunch of people upset with the fees that are going towards XYZ, and then you have the organization on the other side. They're going to get a phone call to you from you all saying, or an email saying, hey, we've been approached by this group. We want to work this out. Is that the way that it works?
Pretty much, you nailed it. Yeah.
Okay.
We pretty much would just say you've been invited to attend regarding this topic. It's voluntary, and then if people are interested, we would go through about a 20-minute intake with them, and then we meet people wherever they are. So we would often meet at the community center that they might use, or at the tennis courts that they use, or the HOA, whatever it is, and we just help facilitate. We actually have one on Monday, a large group facilitation with 23 people from another nonprofit.
Okay, people that have heard all this, they know where they get information on your website. Once again, on the phone number is what?
The phone number here is 410-266-9033.
Website again is aacrc.info. It's nonprofit. You are a nonprofit, and nonprofits cannot live by grants alone. Is that correct?
That's correct. We are thirsty for some money right now.
So how does that work? If people are listening to this, they think, this is excellent, I want to help this organization out, what can they do to help?
They can do a lot of things. Obviously, we talked about volunteering. Honestly, referring people to us, because a lot of our grants are based off performance. So we have to reach X amount of a certain type of case, et cetera, et cetera. We're always asking the public to do outreach. You know, someone listening to this might not have their own personal conflict, but just letting people know that this is a community resource. I always say we're Anne Arundel County's best kept secret. We've been here for 26 years, and nobody knows about us. So just encouraging people to refer them to us. And then obviously, yes, donating money. That's something I'm never going to be too shameful to ask for. Anyone can donate by either mailing us a check, or they can go onto our website and donate directly off the website. And there's no amount too small or too big.
Well, Leah, thank you very much for your time today. I didn't know a lot about your organization. Now I do, and I think it's providing a pretty helpful resource to a lot of people in Anne Arundel County.
Well, thank you so much. I think so too.
This is Donna Cole. This has been the 1430 Connection. We will see you next week.